right to a channel of light fluid. So we're back with another episode of By Your Hands, and I'd just like to bring your attention to the content warning I put down in the description. If you think you might need to see a content warning or you're curious about it, it's just down there and you can act accordingly for that. I'm not going to mention it here. While I definitely appreciate content warnings and they're very useful for people, that's why I wanted to give you this one. It kind of spoils what the author is going for with what happens later in this video, so I'm kind of torn between telling everyone and not telling anyone. I don't want to have anyone upset because I didn't tell you, so this is my compromise. Check it down there. I know I don't often put content warnings, but this I feel may be warranted. Anyway, hope that hasn't put you off too much. We're going to carry on with Brendan's route. It's day 5, day 6, one of them, and this is going to bring us up to the current end of his route. So, if you've taken all that in, it made sense to you, let's get back to what I do best, telling the story. Good morning. How'd you sleep? Pretty alright. Can't complain. How about you? Pretty much the same. I'm sorry for the impromptu message. Wanted to ask if you'd like to get together today. Jan's going out with some friends, so it'll pretty much be just me hanging around the house all day otherwise. Pretty much the same. Don't really have anything to do today other than studying and some classwork. Well, if you'd like, I can help you with some of it. The studying, at least. I think some help from your mentor would get it done quicker. Sure, I'd like that. Great. So then, are you in? Count me in, yeah. Where do you want to meet up? Well, since I have the house all to myself, I was thinking I could pick you up and bring you over if you'd like. Sure, sounds good to me. Alright. I believe it'll only take 15 minutes or so for me to drive over there. Give me a poke when you're ready to go, okay? Will do. I shook my computer mouse to check the time on the screen. It was already pretty late in the morning. I finally had an excuse to change out my sleep clothes. Weekends at the lab were usually pretty uneventful. There weren't really any tests to run, no appointments with Dr. Tanya or any other researchers. Nothing. I either stay in my room and take the time for recreation or walk the lab grounds for a while. Back when I was little and Connor was still around, those were our days to hang out with Camille. The past 2 years, either just me in the Carcadan or me by myself. I thought being allowed to start college would offer an opportunity to shake things up. My hopes had been answered with Brendan's texts. So I hopped up from my desk chair to change clothes. Popped into the bathroom to freshen myself up a little. Gathered some of my books and binders, put them into my bag and made my way downstairs. Dr. Abraham was sitting on the couch in the living room, thumbing through a few reports. Technically it was his day off, but that just usually meant he'd work from home instead of in the main labs. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen him not working on something or other. Yagama grunted when I passed by, keeping his eyes locked onto the pages in his hand. I gave him a greeting in return. Just when I was about to head out the door, he cleared his throat. He must have caught sight of my bag slung over my shoulder. When he heard that I was going out to study with a friend from school, however, he praised my remarkable effort to improve my socialization skills and build a network of acquaintances. I wasn't sure how happy he'd be if he knew the identity of that acquaintance I was meeting, but as Conrad always liked to say, what he didn't know wouldn't hurt him. As soon as I stepped out of the house, I sent off a text to Brendan. Then I spent the next 15 minutes taking a walk along the streets and sidewalks of the lab complex. When I finally ambled through the entrance gate, the Bison's car was already idling a few paces away. Well, hello. Hey. The CD player was already filling the car with a soft, mellow melody when I climbed into the passenger seat. While reaching for my seatbelt, I noticed the back windows were rolled down, letting in some of the fresh air from outside. So, you got everything you need? With a nod and a smile, I patted the bag settled on my lap. Yep, even brought my textbook along. I actually had a couple of questions about the Archer Act settlements, if you don't mind going over them.
Not at all. While I can't hold your hand too awfully much, I can at least put you on the right track. So then, away we go.
And away we went. It wouldn't be a very long car ride, apparently. As it turned out, Brendan lived on one of the streets just a short ways away from the university. Close enough to walk, but having to pick Cameron up from school and run errands during the week didn't really make that feasible. As the bison drove, I thought up ways to pass the time. I'd been nodding along to the steady rhythm of the guitar for a while at that point. I'd finally gotten used to it being interrupted at regular intervals by heavier, noisier segments. Electric guitar, Brendan called it. Pretty common instrument in heavy metal. I would have guessed you'd be into something like this.
Why, I'm a boring old history professor.
You're the one who put it like that, not me. I smirked. He rolled his eyes and laughed.
This is what was popular back when I was young. Used to listen to this album all the time when it first came out.
Cool. Silence fell between us. I could hear the bison humming along while he kept his eyes on the road. And when the chorus repeated, I made my best attempt at doing the same. These lyrics are kind of sad, aren't they?
Maybe a little, yeah. It never really bothered me. Back when I was a kid, I just really liked the tune. You know what they say, when you're young you enjoy the music, but when you get older you actually understand the lyrics.
Figured it'd be good to know for the next time I saw the younger bison. And Brendan was more than happy to oblige. As soon as I mentioned his son, his face lit up and the floodgates opened. He told me about Cameron getting straight A's in all his classes, how he won first place in the science fair the year before, how the two of them had gone camping in the Ellis Range National Park for the younger bison's 12th birthday. There was so much pride in his voice. It was, honestly, pretty nice to hear.
Rex, you alright?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Hopefully my smile didn't look too forced. It sounds like things are really good between you two.
Well, it's not like it's all sunshine and rainbows, of course. There are some ups and downs sometimes. Well, that's the case with all families, right?
Right.
Oh,
The bison cleared his throat and looked over at me, an apology in his eyes. I just gave him another reassuring smile in return, a little more genuine this time. Directing my gaze forward at the windshield, then turning to look out the passenger side window. Watching the world pass by outside. It was nice, honestly, just sitting in comfortable silence with Brendan for a while. Sure, we'd spent moments like that together over the course of the week, but today was Saturday. There were no classes hanging over our heads, keeping us watching the clock for when we'd have to cut our time together short. I could enjoy the bison's presence next to me as much as I wanted. Hopefully he was doing the same. At last we arrived. The bison's neighbourhood looked pretty similar to the lab complex's residential area. Neat rows of houses along the sidewalk-lined street. I guess the familiarity was sort of comforting. But at the same time there were so many differences to notice while grabbing my bag and climbing out of the car. Trees, shrubs and flower gardens adding splashes of colour all over. Variations in the look of the houses, rather than bland conformity all the way down the road. A distinct lack of sterile white walls surrounding the place.
Rex? You coming?
Oh, yeah. I plastered a smile onto my face as I moved to join the bison. Brendan's house looked pretty small, just one floor, but I guess it made sense if it was just him and Cameron. A short walkway led from the driveway where he'd parked to the tiny front porch. I took a look at the slightly overgrown lawn while the bison unlocked the door and then followed him inside.
Well, here we are. Go ahead and make yourself at home. Would you like anything? A drink or a snack or anything? The question caught me a little off guard. I shifted from foot to foot, brow furrowing and lips pursing in thought. Appreciate it, but do you have anything, anything... Oh. Ah. Right, carnivore. He let out a small, shaky laugh. Sorry, it's been a while since I had anyone over, so I just wanted to, offer. I could look into getting a few things for next time. If there is next time, of course. I couldn't help blushing a little, both at the offer and the insinuation of him wanting me to come over more often. Is that something he'd be alright with? Oh, of course. Like I said before, I've had plenty of carnivore friends over the years. Used to keep some snacks they could eat aside for whenever they'd visit, but again, it's been a while. Yeah, I see. In that case, maybe some water? Sure, come in right up. Brendan nodded, gave me a grin and a thumbs up, then trotted off through the doorway into what I assumed was the kitchen. After moving aside the blanket which was folded up and slung over the back of the couch, I took a seat. Set my bag down next to me, letting it rest against the end table. Got myself comfortable, made myself at home as the bison had said. Brendan returned a few moments later to hand me a tall glass of water. Then he sat down next to me, his bulk resting atop the small pillow nested in one corner of the couch. So then, you said you had a few questions about what we've been covering in class. A few, yeah. I mean, it's mostly just details, but... Well, I'm glad to see the topics ignited your curiosity. Well, that's one way to put it. Well, in that case, how about a little studying session? If there's anything you'd like to know more about, I'll be right here to help out. Though not too much, right? Right. I can't just give you the answers. As your professor and your mentor, I can offer you any guidance you might need. Thanks, Brendan. I really appreciate it. He ducked his head and flicked his ears, a small smile lingering at the corners of his lips. Of course, Rex. So, shall we begin? If you'd like, we can get your studying out of the way now and then have the rest of the day to just hang out together. That sounds like a plan to me. I reached down to pull my textbook out of my bag and we got to it. The Artiodacts, one of the oldest herbivore civilizations. The first herds to settle down in one place. Oddly enough, the book didn't have all that much information about them. They were definitely real, of course. There were plenty of records, excavations, their settlements, artifacts and all that. But beyond talking about their conflicts with the Chuchia and other predator tribes, they were kind of just glossed over. However, Brendan was more than willing to fill in the gaps. They were also among the first to domesticate wild grains and legumes into crops. They figured out the patterns of the seasons to maximise their harvests. They were also the first to build what could be called cities, megalithic compounds for protection and food storage. The bison got a little bit distracted when he mentioned some researchers not believing ancient herbivores would be capable of building something like that themselves. The theories varied. They all centered around some kind of more advanced civilization, whether aliens or a group of ancient mythicals teaching them how to do everything. And surely that more advanced civilization, just so happening to probably be carnivores or at least omnivores, was a complete coincidence. Sorry. I get a little heated about stuff like that.
It's fine. I'm really interested to hear about it.
Not like the aliens and stuff, but what you were talking about before. Oh, good. It's good to keep an open mind. Not so open that your brain falls out, of course. But there can be a lot that gets left out of the history books. And it's good that you want to learn.
Yeah. I could see that he's excited to help me learn, and I appreciate that he'd take the time to answer my questions and help me understand. It was nice to have that for once. but at the same time it's a little bit different for me. Brendan was interested in history for history's sake, learning about the past to understand the present and all that. As conceited as it might be to say, he didn't have any real stake in it. I didn't just want to look at the big chain of cause and effect, as he called it. I wanted to understand how, why, things were the way they were when. His hand came down to rest on my knee.
Why don't we take a break for lunch? It is around that time. I could have something delivered, if you'd like.
Sure, sounds good to me. Should I pay you back?
Oh, no need, it's my treat. Oh, what are you in the mood for,
In the end, Brendan ordered from a Kalen takeout place nearby. Usually took them only 10 or 15 minutes to deliver, according to the bison, so we had some time to rest our brains. What better way than with some television? I sat on one corner of the couch, sipping the last of my drink. Brendan, meanwhile, turned on the large flat screen on the opposite wall and began flipping through the channels. News, talk show, a documentary on the meatpacking industry.
Let's try streaming.
Yeah. He switched over, and as soon as the home screen came up, his eyes started to glimmer.
Oh, how about an episode or two of Valley of the Vanished? I know it's kind of old, really old. Well, we could see if it's up your alley at least.
Sure, I'd be up for that.
Oh, great. They've got all 3 seasons too, so we can start with the first episode. Let me just get it set up.
Brendan wasn't kidding. From the opening song that spelled out the basic plot, to the acting, to some of the special effects, there was a lot that could be called old, maybe even a little outdated. But honestly, had a good amount of charm to it. From the first scene of the main characters, a family of foxes, interacting with and then being chased by a dinosaur, I have to admit I was hooked. Again, the effects weren't the best. The Tyrannosaur was almost insulting, but that was the best understanding of what they looked like people had at the time. And Brendan had to pause about halfway through to answer the door when our food arrived. After the end credits rolled, I asked if Brendan wanted to put on the next episode between bites of sauce-coated pork. After swallowing his own mouthful of veggie fried rice, the bison gave me a beaming grin while doing so. We both finished our lunch around halfway through the second episode. Brendan took the time to gather up and toss our trash, then we settled in for the third one. Just the two of us watching the show together, laughing and commenting on it together, enjoying the day together. When the end credits began to roll once more, Brendan flicked his tail and grunted. His leg had started bouncing a few minutes before. I'd noticed, but hadn't commented. Didn't want to speak up during the good part. You okay?
Oh.
He set a hand upon his knee and let out a quiet laugh. Shifted in his seat, then looked over at me, flicked his ear while glancing away.
Do you mind if we pause for a bathroom break?
Oh, sure, no problem, go ahead. My eyes followed the motion of him setting the remote down on the couch between us. Want me to get the next one set up while you're gone?
Sure, I should only be a few minutes.
A grunt as he got to his feet, then a smile thrown my way as he trotted towards a hallway leading deeper into the house.
I'm back in a jiffy.
All right. He made his way out. I settled into my seat. The remote control was simple enough to figure out, able to get the next episode ready for Brendan's return in no time at all. Satisfied with the job well done, I finished off my drink with a victorious sip. I started tapping my foot on the carpeted floor, leaning back against the back of the couch. I started humming a bit, The Valley of the Vanished opening, that song playing in the car earlier, one which Camille had shown me a while back. Brendan was taking a lot longer than just a few minutes. At first glance, Brendan's living room didn't look too much different from the one at Dr. Abraham's house. Comfy couch, a coffee table, a large TV on one wall, and a carpeted floor. Simple and basic, just what like Camille's family had at their house too. Much like the Carcadan's living room, there were things scattered here and there which made it feel more personalised, I guess. Lived in, as Dr. Abraham would say. Took a closer look at the big poster on the wall. 3 foxes, 2 males and 1 younger female in the foreground, with various other animals all around them. Some strange looking dinosaurs. A saber-toothed cat. Even a pair of weird bug-eyed reptilian alien things. Off in the background, a gigantic, lush-looking valley. It had caught my eye when Brendan first led me in. I hadn't given it too much thought otherwise. Now I could recognise it for what it was. A promo poster for Valley of the Vanished. I guess Brendan really was a big fan. I couldn't blame him, honestly. It really was pretty good, even if it did show its age in some places. And even if it was really inaccurate. Took a closer look at the family photos. 1 or 2 sat on the end tables on either side of the couch, and more were hanging on the walls of the living room. All of them featuring Brendan and Cameron, either alone or together. The pair on a nature hike, Cameron beaming as he stood by his dad's side. What looked like a more professional portrait of the younger bison. Brendan standing together with a few of the suited animals. I recognised the bear who was shaking the bison's hand as the university president. All of them looked pretty recent. The camera in all the photos couldn't have been less than a year younger than when I met him the day before. In every one of his pictures, Brendan had those distinguished hints of grey in his fur and those bags under his eyes. Also couldn't see any hint of Cameron's mom anywhere. Well, Brendan had told me he used to be married but was single now. If something had happened, I suppose it only makes sense for... Either way, it probably wasn't any of my business. Take a look at the shelves. At first glance, the knickknacks here and there on them, on display to decorate the space, looked pretty normal. Kind of like the ones I'd seen at Connor's uncle's house, back when he was working in the lab complex. Not really fancy or anything like that, just meant to fill in the space. A collection of empty glasses in neat rows, a framed picture of the few small signatures in the bottom left corner, a statuette of some kind. When I got up to take a closer look, I could see a running theme. Each of the glasses had a happy-looking cartoonish character on it, along with what I could only guess were their names and the Mudrocks in stylized font. The photograph was a group of animals all together, a banner with the Mudrocks above and behind them. A cast photo, maybe. As the statuette resembled one of the characters, or looked kind of like a brontosaurus, if they'd been purple and particularly round. So that was that other show Brendan had mentioned. Huh. Connor would probably call him a nerd for keeping so much merchandise from some of his favourite series around, even putting it on display. But it wasn't like the rooster had any room to talk. Didn't take too much longer after that for the bison to make his reappearance.
Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Things took a little bit longer than I thought they would.
It's fine. I know how it is. He grunted in response to that and added a tiny chuckle.
Hope you didn't get too bored out here.
I had plenty to keep myself occupied with. I gestured to the Valley of the Vanished poster above the couch. Been admiring the artwork while you were gone. He'd added a sheepish laugh at that.
Yeah, so well, what can I say? There's just something about that old aesthetic that I really like. It's nostalgic, you know. Plus, it's a really good show.
Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining at all. I think it looks good. Honestly, well, this is kind of stupid, but I uttered a tiny embarrassed chuckle of my own. I mean, I've never been to, like, a movie theatre before, so having the poster up there while we're watching the show, it just kind of, you know, like...
Well then, I'm glad to be able to give you that kind of experience. Maybe sometime soon you can come with Cam and me to an actual movie theatre.
I'd like that, yeah. I'm pretty sure my question was plain on my face when I glanced over the shelves surrounding the TV. Mudrocks, huh?
Oh, yes, well.
His ear flicked a few times.
It's been a really big part of pop culture for a really long time, so...
Hey, I'm not judging at all. Well, you know I haven't really been connected to pop culture, so... The bison looked at me with an expression on his face like Camille would always have around the Badetalat.
Would you be interested in watching an episode or two?
Yeah, I think I would. You want to help me get caught up on the things I've been missing?
Well, I'd love to.
Brendan cleared his throat.
So, one more episode, then back to studying?
I pulled my phone out to check the time. Yeah, that'd probably be best. It is kind of getting late. And it'd be better to get it all done now and not have to worry about it later, right?
Well, I'll leave to tomorrow what you can do today,
He nodded in approval. Felt a tiny flutter in my stomach, my own lips perking upward in return.
I commend your diligence. I think it's going to be about time to think about dinner soon, as a matter of fact. Do you need to head home, or...?
I mean... Another glance at my phone. There weren't any messages from Dr. Abraham. I could probably get with a few more hours. If you'd like me to stay, I could. His smile was more than answer enough. We took our seats, getting ourselves comfortable once more. Then Brendan allowed me to do the honours of starting up the episode. Once again I could just relax and enjoy the time spent with Brendan. The companionable silence between the two of us. The comforting warmth of his presence. Only an occasional shift to reposition myself. Only the occasional flick of his ears or tail. Letting ourselves get lost in the drama and adventure playing out on the screen. Another shift. Another bit of repositioning. And then... both of us grunted in surprise at the contact. Our eyes met. His ear flicked, my shoulders tensed. Neither of us pulled away. Sorry.
Well, that's all right.
I could see hesitation creeping into his eyes as he looked down at me. A bit of tension in his own limbs and jaw. He cleared his throat.
Would you like to,
He moved his arm up, resting on the back of the couch behind me. An invitation. Yeah. His soft, cushy, firm bulk against my side. His heavy arm, surprisingly muscular, around my shoulders. His scent tingling in my nose with every slow, deep breath I took. I had to resist the urge to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. We stayed like that throughout the rest of the episode, just enjoying the contact, the proximity. Even when the end credits finished rolling and the screen switched back over the main menu, neither of us pulled away. Hey, Brendan.
Oh, yes, Rex?
I really like this. I've never really felt, normal with my circumstances and all. It's nice to just forget all that and hang out with you and just be, So, thanks.
You're welcome. I'm glad to help. And I'm really glad you like this.
I like you, Brendan.
Rex. I like you, too.
It was a little later on, just a bit too late to still be called the afternoon when we started getting hungry again. And again, delivery was the easiest option. It would be better for a weekend evening staying in and hanging out together than a nice hot pizza. According to Brendan, there's a really good place for that nearby as well. He even did half and half special for the indecisive omnivore, or for a carnivore and herbivore pair who spent in the day together, as the case may be. He called in the order and then we settled in to wait for it to arrive.
Can I get you a drink to go along with it?
Sure, may as well. I'll just have water.
Of course. You sure you don't want anything else?
Yeah, I'm sure. Caffeine kinda doesn't agree with me.
Well, fair enough. Coming right up.
The bison hauled himself up off the couch with a grunt, giving me a small smile before heading into the kitchen. Meanwhile, I got yet another episode of Valley of the Vanished queued up. We'd already got a pretty good study session in. I was pretty sure I'd be well prepared for my classes over the coming week. What better way to relax and give ourselves a little treat as a reward? I looked up when Brendan returned, reaching out to accept the glass of water he's handing over to me. What's that? Brendan blinked, followed my gaze down to the glass in his other hand, lifted up and swirled the dark amber liquid inside around a few times.
Oh, a whiskey.
He plopped back down on the couch and took a long, slow sip. I leaned in a bit closer, my brow furrowing when I caught a whiff of the woody, sweet smell wafting from his glass. Is it good?
Oh yeah, it's very good. It is alcoholic though, so you shouldn't be having any.
I wasn't thinking of it, I was just curious. He took another sip, swallowing down a good third of it in one gulp. Then the bison grinned, slung an arm around my shoulders and gestured towards the TV.
Well, go ahead and start it up. Pizza should be here in about 20 minutes, so you should be able to get through a good bit of it.
Alright then. I did as he asked, leaning against his bulk all the while, enjoying his arm around me. Sipping on my own drink as we settled in together once more. Bison started getting a lot more relaxed as the whiskey started hitting him. More so than I'd ever seen him, even when we were alone. Slumped against the back of the couch, leaning a bit of his weight onto me, his eyes pointed to the TV even as his hand kneaded my side. Making a few comments on the special effects, how they use a bit of stop motion on the dinosaurs or models the faraway shots, and getting a bit giggly over the dialogue. At last the doorbell rang. I think that's the delivery guy. Brendan?
Oh, right, yeah, I'll get it.
Again he hauled himself to his feet. For a moment he stumbled, having to catch himself on the arm of the couch. Then he guzzled the last of his whiskey, set his glass down on the end table and made his way to the front door. I paused the show, waiting for him to return.
Hey, thanks a lot.
No problem, Mr. Baker.
Let me see. Tip. Ah, here you go.
Are you sure? That's kinda...
Sure, I'm sure. You have a good night, alright?
Thanks. You too. Brendan shut the door. I looked up from checking my phone as the bison returned, pizza box in hand, and a triumphant grin on his face.
Alright, let me just set this here on the coffee table and go get a few plates, then we can dig in. You need a refill on your drink?
Nah, I think I'm good for now.
Okay, well, I do, so let me grab that as well. Back in a jiffy.
He tromped off before I could respond. The sounds of a cabinet opening and clanking dishware. Another cabinet opening, then both of them being knocked shut once more. Brendan had his hands full when he came back out of the kitchen, a pair of plates stacked together in one, the large bottle half full of amber brown liquid in the other.
There you go.
One plate was handed off to me, the other was set down next to the pizza box. The bottle was opened, a generous amount of whiskey was poured into Brendan's glass, then it was set down the end table at the bison's elbow. Brendan, I know you're having it with the pizza, but should you be drinking that much? He snorted in response and gave me a crooked smile.
Hey, now, who's supposed to be the responsible adult between the two of us?
His hand landed on my shoulder, giving me a light jostle.
Don't you worry, alright? I'm a big boy.
With another snorting laugh, he gestured down to his burly body with a hand holding his glass. Just a second, I was sure some of the whiskey was going to spill over the side, but Brendan jerked it back upright just in time.
I can handle a good amount of alcohol. More than I got on this little thing here, that's for damn sure.
Okay then. I shrugged, and paused the TV, grabbed a couple of slices of pizza myself and dug in. Glancing over the bison every so often. Brendan took a bite of his own pizza slice, then he washed it down with a long sip of his whiskey. Took another bite, another sip, another. Another few bites, and then he finished off his glass, reached for the bottle and refilled it. Another slice, another few sips, gulps, really. Another refill. I finished off my half of the pizza, not wanting to leave leftovers that Brendan or Cameron would probably just have to throw out on their hands. Brendan, I think I could use that refill you offered now. He blinked at me for a few moments before responding.
Sorry, was it?
I was asking if I could get a refill.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sure. Give me Let me get that for, Stumbling over his words and then trailing off at the end of his sentence, his gaze wandering away from me, grown and focused. When he started to push himself up from the couch, the bison had to make a grab for his plate, stop it from tumbling off his thigh to the floor. Ah, damn it. I reached over to help him, taking his plate and setting it down next to the pizza box. I can get it, it's fine. Yeah, sure. It's no trouble. He made a few more attempts to heft himself up off the couch, but couldn't seem to get his legs under himself properly. Yeah, I'm sure. Should I just get out of the tap, or...? No. There's a dispenser on the refrigerator door. Got it. I'll be back in a jiffy, okay? I gave him a smile as I got to my feet, then a pat on the shoulder, getting back down on the couch. Just as I made it to the doorway into the kitchen, I heard the sound of a bottle cap being unscrewed. Brendan was pouring himself another glass of whiskey. Hey, want me to get you some water too? I think you've had enough. Brendan answered with a snort, sharper this time. I told you, it's fine. I can handle myself just fine. Takes more than this to knock me down, you know. The bison lifted his glass in my general direction, a wide and somewhat lopsided grin on his face, then downed half of it in a single gulp. Okay. Like Brendan had said, there's a water and ice dispenser set into the door of the refrigerator. It could have taken me more than a minute to fill my own glass with both. The buttons weren't really responsive, so I had to try a few times to switch over the ice option, then back to water. When I returned to the living room, Brendan was fully slumped back with his eyes closed. Brendan? I made my way over, setting my glass of water down and shook the bison by the shoulder. Brendan? A snort and then some nonsensical mumbling. His brow twitched and his eyes flicked around behind his shut eyelids. He was asleep. Shit. What was I supposed to do? The TV was still on an episode of Valley of the Vanished, paused. Our plates were still sitting on the coffee table along with the open box of half-eaten pizza, and Brendan had completely passed out. I shifted from foot to foot. Sipped on my water. Took a deep breath in and let it out slowly. All I could really think to do was gather up the dishes and put them in the sink. The plates was easy enough to stack up, but Brendan was still gripping his glass as it rested on the arm of the couch. I had to be careful prying his fingers from around it to avoid spilling what was left of the bison's whiskey. That's when the front door opened. Hey Dad, I'm home. Cameron? When the younger bison stepped into the living room, three things happened in quick succession. First, he saw me in the middle of cleaning up the mess Brendan and I had made. Oh, hey Rex, what's going on? Second, he caught a whiff of the woody sweet smell of whiskey hanging in the air and wrinkled his nose. Third, he saw the older bison passed out on the couch. Damn it, Dad. His expression crumpled, shoulders sagging with a heavy sigh. Cameron took a moment to set down the bag slung over his shoulder and then made his way over to his father's side. He picked up the whiskey bottle, then out another sigh when he saw how little was left in it. Seriously? Tonight? The words caught in my throat when he looked over at me. He was helping me study and we took a break to watch some TV and... I gestured to the pizza box. And he started drinking and just... As I trailed off, Cameron nodded. Yeah, he does that. Here, help me get him lying down. Oh, sure. Limbs a little stiff, feeling the tension in my jaw and shoulder blades, I moved to help Cameron reposition Brendan on the couch. Lying on his side, the throw pillow tugged out from underneath him and set out under his head. Then the younger bison grabbed the blanket off the back of the couch and folded it, laid over the snoring, mumbling older one. Does he do this often? Cameron bit his lip, hesitating, then nodded. I mean, not every night, but it happens. You can go ahead and put those in the sink. I'll do them later. He gestures the plates and glasses in my hands. Right, on it.
So I moved to get that done. Cameron picked up the pizza box. Is there any left? Yeah, there should be. We got a half and half, and Bren, your dad only had a slice or two, so cool. Cameron's ear flicked in my direction while he munched on a still warm slice of pizza right out of the box. He said it doesn't happen every night, but, like, is this normal for him? He blinked, then turned to stare at me. You really don't know, do you? I thought everyone had figured it out. Dad's an alcoholic. Casual, matter of fact. Thrown out with little more than a shrug and another flick of his ear. It's not like a big problem. Most of the time, I mean. Like I said, it's not every day that he... I glanced towards the older bison. It most just happens when he gets overwhelmed with stuff. He just starts and can't stop himself. Overwhelmed? Had I overwhelmed him? Fuck, am we going to watch Amazing Planet premiere tonight? The tight squeeze in my throat and stiffness of my jaw made it difficult to speak, but I managed. Is he going to be alright? He'll probably have a splitting headache tomorrow morning. Other than that, he'll be fine. Oh, good. That's, good. But he'll be fine. And are you going to be alright? Honestly, couldn't tell whether there was a smile on his face or a grimace at first. So his response sounded pretty jovial. Almost too much so. Yeah, I'll be fine too. Whenever Dad gets like this, he just drinks until he passes out. So it's not like he ever... The young bison's tail lashed behind him. I can take care of things while he sleeps it off. Okay. More shifting from foot to foot. The tension in my jaw and shoulders only getting more unbearable as the seconds passed. In that case, I guess I'll just, go? Yeah, alright. Cameron nodded, giving me another small smile. It was easy to see how forced it was. Alright. Can you tell your dad I'm sorry for leaving while he's out when he wakes up? Will do. Good night. Yeah, good night. There didn't seem to be anything else I could say, anything else I could do. So I grabbed my bag and left, giving Cameron a brief awkward wave before shutting the front door behind me. Normally I'd relish the chance to take a walk in the cool evening air, to just let the steady rhythm of my steps and my breathing, deep in, slow out, take over. Having the chance to not think so much for just a little while. I started the long trek back to the lab complex, the weight of what had happened, what the next day would probably bring, bogged down my every step. The day had started out so nice. It'd been great to hang out with Brendan for such a long time. Having him help me with my studies, relaxing and watching TV with him. Getting my feelings from him out in the open. How had things suddenly gone so wrong? Well, there we go. Where will we go from here? It's definitely Brendan's coping with a lot at the moment. Not in a very healthy way, I have to say, but maybe Rex can help him with that and get him steady. Possibly to do with his wife. Is she dead? Just divorced? I get the feeling it wasn't anything good, the fact there's no pictures of her the drinking, so yeah, we'll see what happens there. I am following By Your Hands on Itch.io, so I'm keeping up to date with how things are going, and of course that's the current end of Brendan's route. But when we have more that goes public, I will be making more videos, so have no worries on that. By Your Hands will be continuing. And also continuing on this weekend, probably Saturday, is Echo. We're back in Flynn's route for that, going to get into that. And then we have the new series coming up. and also more Moonfire for the end of the month. Next month, I think we have more Infinite Space coming up, definitely more Mother Hotel, and yeah, we'll see how things come out. As I'm recording this, I've just read the new build of Chemia, and I will be doing that as soon after it comes public as I can, so I'm not quite sure what date that will be, but keep it on the channel, I will let you know, or follow the Echo Project and they'll tell you when it's out for the public. That's it for By Your Hands for the moment. I don't know when we'll be going back, but we are going back, as I say. And before I go, as always, thanks to all my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. And my top patrons are Andy Peng, Aaron Fox, Astian, Bieker, Brian Hall, Cobras Vita, Dissonance, Zigzag, Grizz, Harvest Mouse Productions, Ida Corval, Evan King, Kartek, Matt Kenya, Mario Cervantes, Omar, Rafu, Spiderling, Samuto, Tiger Cub, Aramam Tarasu, Helpers Need Coffee, Addy Bear, Greylock, and Lark Huskerton. And thanks to you for watching. Bye for now.